So you're new to Genshin, you do a 10 pull on the current weapons banner, and you get 4-star Sacrificial Bow. I kept saying fragments and sword earlier, now I'm getting it right and saying bow. So we're going to look at the Sacrificial Bow, what it does, and who it might be good for. Okay, so first we are going to read what the Sacrificial Bow does. I want to turn this way, but my screen is this way. I don't even need to read it. I know what it does off the top of my head. Okay, so the Sacrificial Bow's stat is energy recharge. So it does get up your energy recharge, which is good for anybody that needs to use their burst a lot. In this example, we have it on Kale. Now, the passive is that whenever you use your skill, there is a chance, I'm going to say chance because at R1 it is 40, at R5 it is 80, that it will reset your skill, reset the cooldown of the skill every so often. I think at R1 it is 30 seconds, and at R5 it is 16 seconds. So that just means that if you have this on somebody that uses their skill a lot, one, it'll help you build energy for your burst. It'll also give you a chance to apply an element or get a buff or something like that that you may not have otherwise. Or it's really good if you have it on a character whose skill has a long cooldown. Now this would be good for like a support Kale, where you want her burst to be up to give Dendro reactions, right? Like with Kaching or another electro damaging character. Or to help you make blooms and like Hyper Bloom. Even having the passive of getting the skill cooldown reset can be good because Kale can have multiple boomerangs out at a single time. So you can use that to build energy because the energy recharge and from having the extra skill procs, and for applying extra Dendro, having constant Dendro going around. Next is going to be Farzon, the granny of Genshin. Now, while Farzon may not be able to use the second skill proc effectively because her skill doesn't have that long of a cooldown anyway, having the energy recharge on her can be very, very good to have her burst more readily available. So personally, I do think that the Favonius Warbow is going to be better on Farzon than the Sacrificial, but that's for a video. I just had to mention it because we have our residential Favonius proponent, Zucchini, that watches these videos, so I gotta talk about Favonius somewhere. Next, we're going to have Diona. Now, again, Diona's burst is really good because that's where her healing comes from, but she can take use of the skill reset if her shield breaks or because her shield doesn't last the full time. The duration is shorter than the cooldown. So you will have a time in there where you could not have a shield. So having the double proc on her skill can be really good for keeping the shield up longer. Next, we're going to have the Animo Archon spoilers, Venti. Now, Venti can use this weapon, one, because of his burst is really, really good at grouping smaller enemies, and having energy recharge on Venti is really good, but he can sometimes use the double skill proc if you want to use his skill to also help group some enemies, or for traversing the overworld. Next, we're going to have Kujo Sara. Now, Sara can technically use it, however, it doesn't have that high of a base attack. And on Sara, you really, really want a weapon that's going to have a really high base attack, like Skyward Harp, for example. She can use the double skill proc, even though her skill doesn't have a terribly long cooldown. And last but not least, we do have Yanlon. Now, Yanlon can make use of this one because a lot of her utility lies in her burst, so having energy recharge is going to be really, really good for Yanlon. But having the double skill procs almost makes her like her C1, her Constellation 1, because at Constellation 1, you do get an extra skill proc, but this can also help give that to you if you do not have C1. So this can be really good for Yanlon to use. So that is going to be it for this video. If you have any other questions, do be sure to leave it in the comments myself or somebody else be sure to answer it, and I will see you in the next video.